Hello, this is Beastly Eel, and on today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Inquisitors from Star Wars. Now, for those of you who don't know what the Inquisitors are, they are a group of Force-sensitive dark side agents who work for the Galactic Empire. They were first introduced in Rebels, the Star Wars animated show Rebels. We first get to meet the Grand Inquisitor, who's apparently in charge of them all, other than obviously Darth Vader and Lord Sidious. And then we've met, after he was killed, we met three others. So apparently, the Inquisitors were younger Jedi who were basically tortured by the Empire to be part of the dark, use the dark side, to be a part of the dark side, I should say, and then became what's called Inquisitors. Now, Inquisitors overall are just force sensitive agents. I mean, they're not super powerful. They do have some force abilities, but overall, they're just not. How do I put this? The what do I mean about it? They're not the strongest at all. They're definitely weak level soldiers. Now, granted, they are stronger than the troopers, but other than that, they're not that powerful. And apparently, there are 10 of them, which, for those of you who watched Rebels, are kind of surprised by that because we only see four of them, and we never see any more. And throughout the entire universe, even in comic books and all, not all of them are known. I mean, we know there are definitely 10 of them, but we don't know the identities of all of them, and it's very few that we know. So, the whole thing about this is we don't know much about them. They're a group of, like I said, I don't want to use the word Sith because that's just degrading to the Sith, but they're force sensitive beings who were part of the Galactic Empire, who then, after not, after who knows how long, just disappeared. They didn't exist because during the Galactic Empire, when it was at its peak in the original saga, they weren't around. The only Force user other than Lord Sidious, Darth Sidious, I should say, sorry, um, Emperor Sidious, I should say, even better, um, was Darth Vader. So we don't really get to see much of them and know much of their story because there's definitely some things we need to know. Um, we know they're disbanded for sure. We don't know if they were all killed. We only know for a fact that four of them are dead. Actually, no, that's not true. I think five are confirmed dead. So we have five more who we don't even know what happened to them or that they even existed. I mean, granted, let me rephrase that. We know they existed, but we don't know much about them at all. I think what Star Wars needs to do is really talk about them. Like, we know basic on how they existed and everything else, and we know basically what their job was. But the breaking point had to have been horrible. And just seeing that, even if it's just a glimpse of it, to really understand what they went through, because they were all at one point Jedi. They all obviously didn't finish their training, but at the very least, they had some good in them. So they had to be really tortured to get that out of them. I mean, there's been rumors about who some of these people are. I mean, we know the Grand Inquisitor is one of the Jedi Temple Knights, um, but all the others, we have no idea who they. There's actually, I'm sorry, there's one that's been confirmed by name, but I don't even know the name. So that one kind of threw me off. Um, one of the female inquisitors that we see in Rebels. In fact, I think she's the only female we see in Rebels. She reminded me of Ahsoka Tana's friend, the Padawan, who then framed Ahsoka Tana so she would be kicked out of the Jedi Order. She always reminded me of her, but it was never confirmed that it was her. But I just, what kind of experimental things did they go through? Were they just regular young Jedi who were tortured to just join the dark side and then given their abilities and that's it? Or were they enhanced in some way with technology and potentially experimentation to increase their abilities so they would be stronger, or experimented on to inhibit their abilities so they would never cause a threat to the Empire? So a lot of things could happen, and I would just love a little more explanation on it. And definitely just a lot more of kind of what happened. I mean, even if it's just in the Bad Batch, where we actually get to see what the Empire does to create their Inquisitors, that would be just awesome because that way we actually see their progression, how they were created. And then, of course, the downfall of the rest of them. Now, like I said, we know some of them, so we don't need to know all of them. But we definitely need to know the start of them, who they actually were. You know, were they trying to be good and just broke under the pressure and power of the Empire? Or was it something that was always in them and they just wanted to cause some destruction? It's definitely very interesting, and I think it's something we definitely need to see. The Inquisitors always intrigued me, even though they themselves weren't all that powerful. I just love the idea of them, that they were basically slaves that could use the Force. I just thought that was amazing to me because it demonstrated how much Palpatine's power was, but also the idea that somebody who uses the Force would be a slave. Like that, they're supposed to be one of the more powerful beings in this universe, and yet they're slaves. So it's definitely something I really think Star Wars should look into further. Um, Again, just so we have a better idea of what happened, because there's so interesting because they're so interesting because of how they were claimed to have been created. It makes a dynamic that did they automatically become inquisitors? Meaning, like, once they broke, they were automatically inquisitors and ready to kill everybody. Or, like, even while they were inquisitors, there was a character arc for all of them where they needed to kind of just be like, you know what, this is the way, or else I'm dead, so I gotta kill people. That's what I want to see. So yeah, that's definitely where I'm at right now with the Inquisitors. I want to see about all 10 of them and knowing their past, how they were captured, how they were tortured, how did they become Inquisitors, and then how did they die. And again, I know some of them have been explained, but not all of them. And even the ones we know the most about, we still don't know that much about. So definitely something I want Star Wars to do, and this is definitely a story that needs to be told. I mean, do you guys agree with me? I mean, I can't be the only one that wants to know more about the Inquisitors. I understand they're weak in the sense of force using, but they've got to be interesting to other people other than me. So please let me know in the comments what you think, and also tell me some ideas that you also want to see too. I'd be interested to hear that because I mean, there's so many things that we could talk about, and I'd be glad to start a conversation about that. So, as always, if you like the content you see, which I hope you do, please like and subscribe below. Other than that, this is Beastly Eel signing out. Have a good night.